Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Quarantine with Jonathan, except we're no longer in quarantine. I got my freedom. I got out of that place, and I'm now back home in Penghu, and everything is okay. Yeah, what a day. What a day. Quite a lot to unpack in this final episode. Quite a lot to think about and talk about. I'm quite tired, to be honest. It's about 9 o'clock in the evening, so 12 hours since I got out. I thought about making it a bit earlier, but then I wanted to have the whole day to reflect and think and enjoy, basically. Almost made this in the park when I was in Taipei. There's a nice little park and a bench, and I thought it might be nice to have an outdoor environment, but yeah, also a little bit more difficult to manage, so waited till I got home. And so what was it like getting out? Well, I got up quite late. I didn't want to have a long wait. I didn't sleep particularly well last night, and so I got in. I got up at about 8:15. Checkout was at 9. But as I'd already passed that sort of 12:30, like my quarantine time was officially done. I didn't feel the same on that last night. Actually, once I knew legally. Excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze. If I was a professional, I would do a whole nother take, but I'm not going to. That was just a normal sneeze, by the way. Allergy sneeze. Nothing else. So yeah, I got up not too early. The last night, yeah, as I was saying, the sort of period, as soon as I passed that official quarantine period where legally I was allowed to leave, it wasn't the same feeling in the room anymore. It was the pressure kind of dissipated a little bit at that point, because legally, technically, I would have been allowed to just walk out the hotel, with my suitcase and everything. I'd done the 14 days. So I felt a bit more relaxed, and in the morning, had my last McDonald's breakfast, had a coffee, and packed together the rest of my stuff, and then 9 o'clock, opened the door, loaded everything up, put it onto my nice clean shirt that I'd been saving for my last day, so I could come out the room looking respectable and fresh. Put my nice jacket on, hat on, shoes, bag, and out the door I went, down the lift to the little foyer, where after a few final formalities and signing of a form and whatnot, a taxi was called, and I stepped out onto the street for the first time in 2 weeks. It was a strange feeling. Initially, that first little bit of time, I was expecting to feel something that I didn't immediately. I looked up at the sky, and a grey, cloudy day. I looked around at the street, and there was initially no emotion came. It was a very, very strange feeling coming out of the hotel, because while I was in there, I felt like the time had been crawling along so slowly, and I felt like I'd been in there forever. I felt like my whole life had become that room. And yet almost the second I stepped out and was free to go, I felt like no time had passed at all. Like time outside the room had stood still, while it had stretched on for an eternity while I was in there. Like I felt like I was walking back out the same day that I'd gone in. It was a weird feeling. Like the world outside had just stopped and waited for me while I was in quarantine. And I got in the taxi and chatted to the taxi driver a little bit, and went to the airport, which is only just around the corner really, where I stashed my bags and unloaded. And at that point I walked out without the burden of carrying all my stuff. And that was the point where it really hit, and I really felt free, actually, was when I left the airport. And I just started walking. So I just walked in no particular direction. I had a vague idea that there was a park in the direction I was walking, and I just walked, and it was wonderful. The sky was grey, but there was so much to look at, so much to enjoy. Even the smallest, tiniest things, the greenery, the wind, clouds moving across the sky, birds fluttering, and I felt like my senses were heightened, and I was noticing each little thing. I put some music on to sort of enjoy the walk a little bit more, and gradually started to feel like normal again. Everything seemed very big, and everything seemed like my depth perception was a little bit out at first. It's just been a long time since I've seen things far away. So, buildings and high things and a horizon, a skyline, the city, Taipei 101, everything was very sort of big and far away, and it was taking my eyes a while to adjust to it all. So, yeah, it was a strange moment walking down that street, passing people. Went into 7-Eleven to buy some orange juice, and just the act of going into a shop and buying something was nice. And then carried on to this park, and I was glad I came across it, because it was a wonderful little park actually. Had a sort of a little pond lake area in the middle that was completely covered by a canopy of trees, and a little path that snaked through it. And there was a fountain, and it was a Saturday morning, and everybody was out in the park, and a really nice atmosphere in the park actually, and something you don't really see in the UK or in other places I've been. But this park, where there's like a shared space that everybody's using, young and old, families. There was some little children playing football. I say playing football, running around after a football, kicking it in random directions. There were old people sort of stood there doing Tai Chi, doing their exercises, and there was a group of people who had some sort of ballroom dancing activity going on. So old couples listening to or dancing rather, to old Taiwanese songs, including one old man who didn't have a dance partner, and he was just going through all the dance steps on his own, which was a little bit sad. But so they were old people dancing, people playing basketball, people playing badminton, group of older people in the middle of the grass playing bowls. It was a cool, cloudy day, but dry, and everybody was out in the park sharing this space together, and nobody was annoying each other. The kids were kicking the ball, and it would go and bounce off an old lady's wheelchair who was sat there doing some exercises in her wheelchair, and there was she didn't scold them or yell at them or anything, and the kid said sorry, and they went and kicked the ball in someone else's direction, and little kids playing with remote control cars and things. Yeah, it was exactly what I needed to sort of see, all this human interaction in a natural environment, and yeah, like I said, sort of intergenerational in terms of who was using the park, and very nice atmosphere, and a lovely little park. Some little birds around that I could hear fluttering this way and that way, and I'd arranged to meet one of my new friends who'd supplied me with a beer. I wanted to buy her a coffee as a way of showing my thanks for her supporting me in lockdown. So after some initial live location mishaps of trying to find each other in this big park, we met up. So sort of a friend that I'd only known from sort of Facebook and on the phone, got to meet in person, so that was really nice, and had a nice chat, and then before I knew it, it was time to go and get my plane. So headed back to the airport, retrieved my stuff, and um, I had one slight moment where I thought there was going to be a problem. When I checked in without a problem, I showed my my form that I had to write on arrival to the airport to tell them that I didn't have any symptoms, and I was feeling normal and stuff. Everybody who travels to the islands at the moment has to fill out these forms. And then I checked in without a problem, and then when I was going through security, when they scanned my passport, I just saw this red thing flash up on the computer, like a flashing red message with a picture of my face next to it, and I was like, oh, that doesn't look good. And the person immediately didn't know what to do and had to get on the phone and call a superior who came, and they discussed it, all without even asking me any questions. So I was just waiting, like, is there a problem, guys? Something you want to talk to me about? And then they just needed to see the my special sort of health declaration, government issued certificate that I got when I entered Taiwan, and after I had my PCR test, and sort of my record of that I've done the tests and been in quarantine and everything, and they weren't going to let me board the flight until they'd seen that and confirmed that everything was above board. And so it was a little scare, but then for a horrible moment I thought they weren't going to let me fly and they were going to send me back to quarantine. It wasn't until I got on that plane and then arrived in Penghu a little later that I really felt completely free, like I'd escaped the system that I'd not escaped, but I'd legitimately escaped. Perhaps I should say I was back in Penghu, back on home turf. No one can touch me here. They can't touch me, but it's that sort of feeling. So Taipei had been the site of my incarceration, so leaving Taipei was also a kind of escape. And the flight was nice. There was about there was exactly, because I counted, exactly 12 people on my flight. The plane holds about 80. One of the small ATR 72 propeller planes, so not a big plane, but there were hardly any people on it. We were all very well spaced out, very quiet. They don't bring any drinks or anything at the moment because of COVID, so came out of the cloud of Taipei, through the cloud layer and above, where it was bright and sunny. First time I've seen the sun for a long time. Enjoyed having that on my face. The mountains, the central mountain range of Taiwan just looked beautiful above the clouds, with snow-capped mountains and valleys, and with the cloud all nestled below in the valleys. It was it was a really nice flight. Lots to look at, lots to feast my eyes on. That's what I'd been doing all morning, was just feasting my eyes on everything, allowing myself to get a little bit overwhelmed by all the sights and sounds and things. And the flight gave me more of that, and before I knew it, landed in Penghu, where it was a cloudy, windy day, so about par for the course in February. Back in Penghu. Grabbed my case almost straight away, takes no time, and out onto the airport concourse and through outside, where Cheyenne was waiting for me with 2 of the 3 dogs. Bamboo and Manyo were waiting in the car for me. And that was it. Went home and sort of settled back in. It was actually, the first thing I did was have a beer. Obviously needed a beer. Then unpacked some stuff. I wanted to get all that stuff done. I really, normally I'll leave it a few days. I'll like unpack slowly and gradually, but today I really wanted everything out of the suitcase, everything back in its place, myself back in my place. Then I went to take 2 weeks of dirty laundry to the laundrette, where I got it all washed, and while I was waiting for the machines, went and sat by the harbour side and enjoyed the twilight, overlooking the harbour, the fishing boats, and just really feeling I was home. Because it's been a long time, nearly 2 months since I left Penghu, so it did, apart from the whole quarantine thing, it had been away for quite a while anyway, so it's always nice to come back and really be home again, be home in my sort of adopted home, my alien home. One of the nice things about how I live and the fact that I live in another country is I have two homes really. When I go back to the UK, it's like coming home. The place where I grew up, where the culture is, instantly familiar, and I can speak the language fluently, which is nice, and reconnect with all that stuff. There's a homecoming feeling. When I come back to Penghu, it's also like coming home, because this is where I live, it's where I work, and where I spend my days, and where I chose the home that I chose, I suppose. So yeah, that was really nice, sitting by the harbour side. Found the Brewdog beer in 7-Eleven. You only had 2 cans of it left. It was a Christmas one that had been left over, so that was fun. One of the first things I found in a 7-Eleven here was something back from home, back from the UK, from Scotland. Brewdog beer, a long way from home, like I had been. But yeah, so I got all my laundry done, came home and had some food, and it's now pretty much time to have a shower and go to bed. So it's the end of day 15, the final episode of this little series. Yeah, our journey has come to an end. Everything turned out okay in the end, and I'm sure the time in quarantine will stay with me, even though, like I said, I have this strange feeling of everything going back to normal almost straight away. Like there's no almost no adjustment period. Like when I came out of that hotel room, I was just back where I had been a moment before I stepped in. But also I know that those 2 weeks weren't in my imagination. They really happened. I really spent 2 weeks in that dreary little room with no light, and unable to go out, and it seems now like a bad dream. A nightmare, in a way. People say, oh, this was a nightmare, or I had a nightmare of a day today, and this is a nightmare. But we use that word all the time to describe something unpleasant, but this really does seem like an actual bad dream now, a nightmare, because it's something I can remember, but it's just like when you go to sleep, the time passes at a normal time when you're asleep, but when you wake up, you've instantly sort of forgotten most of what happened. I sort of feel a little bit like that, like I've sleepwalked through the last 2 weeks, and now time has resumed its, life has resumed its normal rhythm and whatnot, and as much as I'd like to just forget all about it and pretend it never happened, it did. No doubt it has left some marks on me, and perhaps a little bit of me is still in that room, a little bit of my mind at the moment. So it'll probably take a few days of sleeping in my own bed again and living my normal life here, going out first thing tomorrow morning to take some pictures, maybe go for a swim in the sea, maybe, But yeah, we will see what the future brings in terms of whether this is something that comes back to me when I'm not expecting it, or whether it's something that's just behind me and in the rearview mirror, and I can forget about completely, which is kind of what I'd like to do, but also aware that there were good things that came out of it, and it led to some positive experiences and some realizations that I hope aren't lost now that I'm back. I made a few sort of promises to myself in there that I wouldn't take for granted what I have. Wouldn't take the freedom for granted ever again. Be able, appreciate what it is to, to be free and to be able to go out and do what you want, and also some other things I discovered in there, like the power of meditation, the way that was able to calm me down and ease my anxiety. That's definitely something I can use in my regular life when I feel stressed or dealing with things. I'm finding that inner calmness, that inner resource, and that's how I think of meditation. After practicing it for about a week, it's like a resource that you have that you don't need anything for. You don't need any technology, you don't need any equipment, you don't need a specific place, you don't need anything really apart from you and a sort of a state of mind that you reach, a relaxed, open state of mind. So finding that in there will hopefully be a good thing that I can carry forward. So I don't want to forget everything, but definitely don't want to dwell on it. And yeah, I'm just very grateful that I made it through and that people were there for me during that time. And yeah, like I said, this is the end of our journey together. It's the end of the quarantine series. Who knows, maybe I'll make more videos talking about other things, other issues, doing other activities. Maybe I'll start doing YouTube videos for my photography. That will be a little bit more technical. I have to get a bit better at YouTube videos and making more things happen. But that could be something for the future. For now I have a week before I go back to work. So I have a week to relax and do the things here that I enjoy, and recover, get some exercise, get some sunlight, get as much sun as I can, and enjoy life again. Okay, that's all. Thanks for watching, as ever. Thanks for watching the series. Hope some of it was useful to you or interesting. And I will leave you on day 15, and I'll say bye for now. Bye guys.